welcome to our Open Office Hour series for professional service automation. Today we'll be covering NetSuite SRP as part of our series. And next week we'll be covering Open Air. With that, I appreciate our participant and pass it over to Brett Rogers for the content of the presentation and to Pamela Kite.
Well, good afternoon. As Alejandro said, we're going to be introducing the team very quickly. Then we will talk about PSA and SRP specifically. And then I'll pass it over to Pam Kite and let her walk through the demonstration of the product. So very quickly, most of you know Alejandro. He is the senior manager from Crowe. He is the host of this webinar that we're having. My name is Brett Rogers. I'm a PSA sales exec at NetSuite. Pam Kite will be kind of driving the demonstration and talking about her experiences with the product. And then we also have Sherry Rossi as our senior leadership that's on the webinar as well. So a little bit about PSA, what we know from industry analysts and things like that. We covered this a little bit last week. What we typically see, the reason why companies need to be looking at PSA and looking at PSA solutions. When you look at it, you know, things like year-over-year revenue growth of 72%. When you're comparing those that use a PSA solution versus those that do not use a PSA solution. And then, you know, margin increases, billable employees, utilization increases, all of those things that directly affect the business and the money for the business are the reasons why PSA should be used. As you can see here, one of the things that they did is they took a look at a 100-person professional services organization that was able to achieve a 5% improvement in billable utilization, and they generated an incremental $1 to $2 million to the bottom line. You know, that's huge impact, and of course, those organizations that are larger, that impact becomes larger. So specifically SRP, right? SRP is Services Resource Planning. It is the first and only cloud native solution that unites ERP and professional services. So it was built in the cloud for the cloud. It is part of the NetSuite platform, and it's a single unified solution. It gives you the capabilities of CRM, project management, resource management, all of your project and accounting and time and expenses. It's one of those solutions that's really geared towards organizations that are getting started or have simple processes that are in place. But it is a very easy to use, intuitive solution that allows for growth for organizations. You know, we've got some that have 5 users up to 5,000 users. The other key point is it is a product that has been around, is tried and true, with over 7,000 global customers worldwide. So the benefits of SRP, we talked about it a little bit. As you can see in this middle circle, it is part of the platform. So when you look at the entire NetSuite solution, you have ERP, financials, PSA, CRM, your analytics, your procurement portions. So it is a tool in the suite, in the NetSuite solution. And it is the SRP solution that's inside the suite that provides you really the subset of project management, resource management, billing, time and expense management, and then gives you reporting around those projects and resources. So your benefits, again, single unified solution, It gives you the flexibility for integrations if you need to. It's built on the suite for the suite, so you have a lot of partner network pre-built integrations, and it is a solution that can be used for a lot of organizations to manage their services group. So now I'm going to turn it over to Pam Kite. She is going to walk us through the demonstration, the different parts of SRP, and give some of her experiences as well.
All right, thanks, Brett. Well, good afternoon. So today the demonstration will be services resource planning for NetSuite. So what I plan on covering from a business process flow is really an end-to-end business process. So when we think about, as we're working with our customers, we need the ability to manage specific opportunities. So within NetSuite, we have the CRM capabilities, the sales functionality that allows you to be able to manage all of your different sales opportunities. Once those opportunities have been, they're in the process, they currently have been won, you need the ability to go in and create a project. So a lot of our customers leverage the project template capability or just go in and create projects directly within SRP. So what I'll be covering today, again, is the project management component. We'll also be covering the resource management. So when you think about being able to find resources, you want to be able to find the right resource with the right skill set on the right project. So we'll spend a good amount of time kind of going through the resource management, how to staff the project. We'll go through and I'll talk a little bit about how you can assign tasks to the resources. And then another key component of the solution is the time and expense reporting. So, once you've set up a resource on a project and assign them to the project, they need to be able to track their time, and they also may need to be able to track expenses. So we'll walk through some of the timekeeping capabilities. The other key component is approval. So within NetSuite, we do have a lot of automation built in where you do have your time and expense reports that do get routed to your manager or the project manager for approval. And then the other key area that is, I think, really extremely important is the project accounting side. So being able to define those billing rules on your project. You may have projects where you're doing time and material types of projects, fixed price, fixed fee, milestone types of projects. And so again, you've got a lot of flexibility where you can have multiple billing rules on a project. And then you also have the capability where you can create separate revenue recognition rules. So when you think about, the ability to define those rules, whether it's billing, whether it's revenue, is really key. I think back to my days when I worked in finance, just the ability to do that. We really didn't have a system in place that allowed you to define all of these billing rules. And I think back to when I worked in finance, we did a lot of stuff manually. I would have loved to have a tool like this to be able to track, all of our projects. The next area I'll go into is generating charges. So within the project, you need the ability to automatically generate charges that have been put on against the project. So those billing rules, take into effect what, charges have been allocated on the project. And then of course you need to be able to do that invoicing very easily. Lastly, there's the analytic component. When you think about projects, as a project manager, you want to be able to see, are you on budget with the project? So being able to compare budget to actuals is extremely important, as well as project profitability. So I'll walk through kind of each of these areas and kind of go through, again, some of the key, key areas that I've explained here in the business process flow. So as you know, NetSuite is very much role-based. So I'm currently in as the project manager. Now within NetSuite, And again, within SRP, in all of these dashboards that you're seeing, they're pre-built dashboards that you get on day one. So again, all of these different portlets that come with SRP, you again have different tiles with, you know, hours to approve, milestones. You also have the project manager portlet. So when you need to be able to either leverage project templates or create new projects, again, you can very easily to easily create that. Same thing with time and expenses. You also have the procurement capability. So if you are needing to procure any type of services or materials with a specific vendor, you have the capability to tie that to a project and a task. You'll notice over here on the left-hand side, again, we've got several reminders. Again, this is part of NetSuite. A lot of times as a project manager, you need the ability to be able to approve time, to approve expenses. So all of this information is right here at your fingertips. As we go down the dashboard, again, we have KPI meters that come with the system, as well as your KPIs. When we look at our projects, we can look at different types of projects. So here I can see that I've got system integration projects. I believe I've got one system integration project that's an ERP integration. I may have, you know, custom projects. You also can have internal projects that you do as well. Some other key things to point out is, again, you can highlight things, you can create saved searches where if you've got milestones that are currently overdue, again, you can have those identified here on your dashboard. Now, let me take you into a project, and we'll just go into this company upgrade project. And a couple of things that I'll highlight from a project management standpoint is here we can define our project. So we've got our company upgrade. We can see our customer. We can also identify who the project manager is. We can also see the planned work. So being able to kind of plan out your project, being able to see what actual work has been already done on the project, and being able to look at your percentage of completion. So here we can see that we're at 41% of completion on the project. As we go through the project, the other key thing that I want to highlight is if you do have milestones or milestone type projects, notice here that I can have, you know, different tasks defined as different milestones. You also have a lot of flexibility within NetSuite, within SRP, to define your project and your task structure where this is a very simple, but if you do have like phases and multiple tasks underneath those phases, you can go down very granular. So again, a lot of flexibility within the project structure to define that the way your business requires. Now, let me show you a couple of other things. Up here at the top, you'll notice this little icon up here. And with every single project that you create in SRP, you do have a project dashboard associated with that. And on the project dashboard, again, you can see things like key performance indicators. So here I can, you know, see some analysis on my project completion like I saw on the other screen. But you also can see things like, what are my incurred costs? What are some of the forecasted charges? Have we invoiced any dollars at this point? So of course here we can see right now, this project actually started in July. So we currently have not invoiced any charges at this point. Some other key things is being able to look at your P&L. So being able to look at things like your cost, your committed cost, and your total cost. Same thing on the revenue side. And then being able to look at your margin and your profitability. Down here, you can see all of the various transactions. So as a project manager, I know when I worked for an oil and gas company, I would have project managers come to me all the time and and ask questions about, well, Pam, I need to be able to see this invoice, or I need to be able to see this payment or purchase order against this project. And what's nice about this is the project managers all have access to this information. They can go directly into this dashboard, and I'll show you in a few minutes when we go into the project how project managers have access also to see, other details regarding transactions. One other thing I like to point out again are these project links. So this can take you directly into the Gantt chart. Again, no need for a tool like Microsoft Project. You have all of that project Gantt chart capability right here at your fingertips. So what I've seen with a lot of companies when it comes to using a tool like NetSuite, a lot of the common comments that I hear a lot of times is I talk to companies daily, and one common theme that I hear is lack of integration. So the benefit with NetSuite is you're getting a completely integrated solution with project management, resource management, the time and expenses, and project accounting. Now, let me point out a couple of other things. Now, I'm not going to go through each and every one of these sub-tabs, but I think some key things to point out here is I had brought up on the slide before, I talked about how we have things completely integrated in with CRM. So here you can see the opportunity tab right here. So here we can see that we had an opportunity with Abbott, we closed it, we won it. And so again, we can see kind of the opportunity. If we wanted to drill down to that opportunity, we could clearly do that as well. I talked a little bit about the transactions on the dashboard. Here we kind of break things out where we've got transactions like invoices and opportunities and sales orders. So here we can see the status. We can see that right now we do have an invoice that's open. We can also see so that invoice actually is open and has not been paid at the moment. And then here on the time tracking, we can see that we've got actual time that's been charged against this project. It currently is an unbilled status, so we need to go about billing that. And then we also have project expenses. So here we can see all of the different journal entries, any of the other expenses, whether it be expense reports, journal entries for time. We can see all of those project expense records directly here against the project. Some other key things I'd like to highlight. I mentioned earlier on the project dashboard. On the project dashboard, it also gives you this information. But here, if we wanted to look directly on the project, we have this P&L sub-tab. This work breakdown structure, this is actually something new that we introduced back in release 2019.2. And this has really enhanced the budgeting capability within SRP. So we introduced this new concept called an activity code. And activity code, this is where you can define different activities. And what you'll notice here is we have a different labor category, expense, and then vendor cost. On these activities, we want to be able to kind of break them down between consulting, technical services. We've got pass-through expenses that we need to account for. We may be billing for those expenses to the customer, but we need to be able to account for them, so we're budgeting for those. And then we also have a vendor where we're contracting third-party labor as well as project purchases. So a couple of new things that you'll notice is, within projects, and I've been working in the project space for a good many years, and a couple of key concepts is the ability to be able to look at your cost, whether it be cost or revenue, and looking at estimate at completion and estimate to completion. So again, we are keeping track of those metrics where we can see that from a profitability and margin standpoint. And we also can track all of our actual cost and revenue. So as far as the functionality goes, I think this is a really nice enhancement that we've made to SRP. I would highly, if you're an existing customer, I would highly recommend looking into this capability. Again, it really provides a lot more capability to be able to do that budgeting. I'm going to talk a little bit here about, if you're not familiar with charge-based billing, so this kind of gets into more of the discussion that I had on my diagram flow that was kind of at the end around project accounting. So I thought, since we're on the project, let me go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about that. So a couple of things I want to highlight here. I mentioned the billing rules. One of the things with the charge-based billing is you do have the capability to create multiple billing rules on a project. And so here we can go in, and here you can have different fixed fee rules on the project. So here you'll notice that I've got a fixed fee of $5,000, and I've related that to basically a service item or billing item. So think about, as your business, you've got certain SKUs or certain like service items or products that you sell to your customers. And so again, you can relate those to what we call our billing items. And then remember, in the task structure, I had 3 different milestones. So I was able to create 3 different milestone rules relating to the project. So here I just want to highlight the different types of rules that you can define when it comes to fixed price or fixed fee types of projects. The next area is time-based rules. So when we think about time and material types of projects, so when we think about time, a couple of other things I like to highlight with time is, I mentioned the service items. So you can record time against your project if you've defined certain service items within NetSuite. And that service item could be things like consulting, it could be project management, it could be things like a graphics designer. So again, you can have different service items that you define within NetSuite. On the labor, on the time, you can also tie that back to a resource. So if you do want to be able to do your billing based upon, particular individuals, you can have that billing rule based upon a particular resource. And of course, you could have, again, multiple resources working on projects along with additional billing rules. You can also define caps. So on the caps, you can have that capped by hour, by dollars. And then the last area that I like to highlight, and this is an area where I see a lot of our customers leveraging this functionality, is where, say for example, you have created a statement of work and you've created an opportunity in NetSuite or your CRM package. And within that, you need to be able to create a statement of work, and you generate an estimate or quote within the system, and you've got all of your negotiated rates. And within those negotiated rates, you have those, they may be different between different customers. So I'll take Ultima as an example. Ultima is an existing customer. This is where you can define different rate cards. So you may have a customer, Ultima Technologies. You could have another customer called Cooper Industries. And within NetSuite, you can define different rate cards. So you could have a rate card for Ultima, you could have a rate card for Cooper Industries, and all of that could be tied back to your statement of work. So all of those rates that you've defined within that statement of work, again, can be tied back to the rate cards. So again, you can define the rules. A couple other areas of different rules that you can create are expense-based rules, purchase rules. Purchase rules relate to purchasing. So if you're procuring any, again, third-party services through other vendors, any materials, of course, you can create purchasing rules as well. I mentioned earlier the project revenue rules. So you'll notice right here, we've got again, different rules that you can define. They can be based upon labor, they can be based upon fixed amounts. What's quite common that I see with a lot of our customers when they're defining revenue recognition rules is they may use RevRec rules based upon percentage of completion. I see that quite often. And then also I see revenue recognition rules where, you know, it's as charged or as billed. They want to be able to recognize that revenue based upon, you know, when it was invoiced or when it was charged. So again, you've got the capability on the project to create, you know, all of those additional, you know, billing rules. And I think really where companies have really benefited with a solution like SRP is they find, you know, their project managers, there's an increase in productivity because they have a tool that enables them to be able to track, you know, all of their various projects along with all of their various resources. So let me go into the resource management functionality here. And within resource management, you know, think about resources really as, you know, you've got what resources are available, what skills do they have, what is their utilization. So when you come into this screen called the resource allocation chart, what you're seeing here is looking at all of your resources here on the left-hand side. And of course, you've got different views that you can customize. So I've got a resource view here. You can also create different views if you want to look at by customer, by project, the different resources that you have, again, by customer or by project. And of course, you've got all of these filters. So if you wanted to look at a particular individual, maybe I want to look at bill, I can drill down into bill. So again, you can filter on any of this data that you see here. Now, I was looking at my company upgrade project, and I want to show you a couple of things here. So what this is giving me is a visualization of all of my capacity. These are all of my various resources. Now, if I wanted to go in and look at Francis, for example, I can see, again, he's over capacity right now, and I can see the 2 projects that he's currently working on. So again, this is giving me that visibility into all of my various resources. Now, I hear a lot of times companies, if they don't have a ton of resources, a lot of times I'll hear comments like, oh gosh, we know our resources really, really well, and I want to be able to just staff them against a project. So a good example would be Abby here. We see that over the next couple of weeks, she's wide open. She's got complete availability. So what I can do is I can go in and I can assign Abby directly to my company upgrade project. And on here, if I wanted to look at my dates, maybe I want to schedule her for next week, and I want to allocate 40 hours. And here's where I can determine if I want to do a hard allocation or a soft allocation. That hard allocation is really where we determine we want Abby on this project. It's pretty set in stone. If you wanted to assign her as a soft allocation, this is where it's a little bit more flexible. So say, for example, you need to make an adjustment to the date, or you need to make adjustments to the hours, where you need to accommodate other priorities. Again, that's where I would leverage that soft allocation. So again, you can directly, you know, come in here and assign her to the project, or you can come up here and you can do a search for a resource. So say, for example, I'm looking for a resource and I want to look for someone that, you know, is available next week. And notice you can track different skills. So all of this is completely configurable. All of the skills can be your specific skills relating to your company. So say, for example, we want to go find someone that has CRM and ERP experience over the course of next week. Again, we can put in availability or minimum years of experience. We'll just simply come in here and submit. And I want to see what resources are available. So again, we can see that Abby is currently available. the other nice thing that you can do here is if we wanted to see who is all 100% available. So again, here I can see the availability. If I wanted to look at skill set scores, so say for example, I want to kind of compare and say, okay, who has the most experience when it comes to ERP and CRM? Well, clearly here I can see that Hugh Kinch and Dave Horton, they're both at the same labor rate. They both have 100% availability. But I noticed that with the ERP knowledge, I noticed that Dave here is intermediate, whereas Hugh is advanced. So here I can really kind of narrow things down and determine, Hugh's my guy for the project. So again, I can come in here, assign him directly to the project, and just simply come up here, click OK, and then save him against the project. And now he is allocated to this given project. So again, the nice thing, the benefit of this is being able to look at availability, being able to look at skill sets. I think another benefit that you get with a solution like this is being able to standardize your staffing process. So I always hear a lot of times, I hear this, it seems like a couple of times a week, is we are doing our staffing via Excel. And so again, that is very, labor intensive. With having a solution like this, you've got that visibility into your capacity, and you can clearly, track different skill sets and different resources all within NetSuite. Okay, so the next area I wanted to go into was the time and expense. So one thing that I always like to cover when I go into the time and expense is the mobile capability. Let me minimize these windows here where you have a little bit better visualization. All right, so one of the things that you have right here, notice that I've got this NetSuite icon. Okay, and with NetSuite, again, each user can leverage the mobile capability. If I come up here to the little guy right here, you'll notice that I'm logged in as Abby Kwan, which is she's an Employee Center user. So she has kind of limited capabilities. She can enter time, she can enter expenses. We'll go through some of the things that she can do. And I'll also, once we finish up with Abby, I'll go into the project manager role, and you'll notice on there that there's much more things that you can do as a project manager. Notice here that again, I can enter my time, I can enter my expenses. Down here at the bottom, I can see my tasks that are overdue, so I can just simply click on that, see what tasks that I have here that are currently overdue. And then if I want to enter time, one of the common comments that I hear from people is, gosh, I need something really easy, something intuitive to be able to enter my time. So as you can see here, Abby has, again, it defaults in with Abby. If I want to go enter my time against my project, notice on here, I can select my hours. And one common question that I get a lot of times is, can we enter minutes? We may work on a bunch of different projects, and we may put 30 minutes in against a project, maybe 20 minutes, 45 minutes. And the answer to the question is yes, you can put minutes in if you do 15-minute increments. I have had some customers that do that a lot. And yes, you can put increments of time in. On here, I can simply go into the customer. If I wanted to search, I can come up here to my search bar and search by project, by customer. I know that I'm working on my company upgrade, so I can simply select that. And then here we can come in, and I've only been assigned to this one given task, which is system configuration. Notice here that I go and select that. And then here it automatically defaults in my service item. If I want to enter a memo, I can just simply come in here and add notes. So as you can tell, really the only key things that I had to enter, one was the duration, the customer, and the task. So again, we're making it very, very simple. You can come up here and you can simply click on save and save it, and then you could come back if there's additional information that you want to add, or you could simply come up here and submit your time card for approval. And so now we can see the reported time. If we wanted to view our list, you'll notice right here, I've submitted my 4 hours for my time. Again, on the additional information, there are things down here at the bottom where, again, notifications come through. You've got your calendar. The more that I clicked on here, this is where, again, I have a little bit limited amount of things that I can do, but I can look at my contacts, my expense reports, any tasks that have been assigned to me, any purchase orders, or any saved searches. Real quickly, I'll go into the project manager role. And one of the things I like to highlight here is, remember when I was in as the project manager, remember you saw like the billable hours, all of the KPIs. So all of the KPIs automatically get exposed on the mobile capability. If there are things that you want to reorder or move down on the bottom, again, you've got that drag and drop capability where you can reorder things. But you'll notice here I've got all of my reminders. As a project manager, I'm responsible for approving time cards and expense reports and purchase orders. So again, I've got a lot more visibility into things that are on my dashboard within NetSuite. Again, you'll notice I can enter time, I can enter expenses. And then if we go over to the More tab, a lot of additional things that as a project manager, I can see things like customers, leads, prospects, invoices. And then here, if I wanted to go in and look at a given customer, of course, I would just simply click on, say, Cooper Software to be able to see all of the details related to Cooper Software. So that was really what I wanted to show on the mobile. Again, a lot of capabilities that you have regarding mobile. And I think the key message here on the mobile is really just the ease of use. Being able to have, again, ease of use, simplicity. I think the other benefit that you'll see here is just increased efficiencies. You'll get those net billable hours that need to be recorded, against your projects. And again, more accurate and timely actuals. All right, so we've gone in, we've talked about the project management piece, we've talked about the resource management, the time and expenses, and then we talked about the financials piece a little bit earlier with the rules. So again, with the charges that you see here, again, we've got a billing engine that runs every night. So again, you can see the charges that have been run. You can also manually generate charges for this. If we go in and take a look at the charges earlier today, I had the fixed fee amount that you see here that I went in and ran. If we wanted to drill down into that charge, of course, we could simply come in here. We noticed that it's a fixed fee against our project for $5,000. So again, the charges capability that, again, the billing engine is picking up and generating, any of those charges based upon the rules that you've defined against the project. So let me jump into the project accounting side. Again, the controller, again, has access. So if I wanted to go in and as an accountant, as a finance person, I want to go in and look at that project. Again, I've got access to do this. If you don't want your project managers having access, again, to the generate charges, of course, this information, these tabs, these subtabs can be hidden. But again, just wanted to show how as an accountant, I can come in here and see that same identical information. Now, from a billing standpoint, if we go into invoice billable customers, this is really where we can see all of our different bills or invoices that need to get generated. So here we can see that $5,000 fixed fee. If I want to go in and invoice all of my projects, I'd simply come in and select all of these and go in and submit, click on submit. If I wanted to drill down and just take a look at this particular project and review the charges, I think about the days when I did finance, and this was one of the things that I did was I was responsible for invoicing customers for our projects. So this would be something that I would go in and do. So I would want to review the charges. I can see that I've got my $5,000. Review it, and if you have multiple line items on here, if you want to hold off, so maybe I had some time and those milestones, if I wanted to hold off on billing those, again, I could simply remove those from here. Once I determine that I'm good to go with invoicing, I just simply come up here and save, and it will generate my invoice. That invoice, again, can be emailed to my customer. And then nice thing, the benefit really about having a solution like this is some statistics have been done where about 90% reduction in invoice inaccuracies can be accomplished with having a tool like this. So being able to have your project management, have your rules, have your project accounting all completely integrated really does reduce that the invoice inaccuracies. And I think back to the day when I did all of this, I'm like, gosh, I probably had a lot of inaccurate invoices that I sent out because we did not have a solution like this to lay out all of the billing rules. So let me wrap up with the reporting capability. And I'll show you a couple of things around the project reporting. So there are reports. Today I'm not going to go in and show all of the various reports, but there are reports that come out of the box regarding utilization. Those are key metrics that any project-based company would be interested in reviewing. Also budget versus actual. Project profitability is another key metric. Some other key things to point out here is when we want to look at our project profitability, here I can see different types of items. So you can define different types of item groups. So here I can see where I've got expenses, I've got services on this given project. I can also see committed cost. So when we think about that procurement side, we need to be able to procure things and be able to look at our commitments. Same thing on the revenue side, being able to look at our committed revenue, our unbilled receivables, and our profit and margin. And then here again, just being able to show, again, the project that we talked about earlier. As with any of the reports, again, you can export these, you can email them, you can schedule them, and of course, they can easily be customized. And then one last area that I wanted to highlight, I had on my slide the analytics capability. So one of the key things that we've added into NetSuite is analytics. And so within analytics, this really gives me the capability where I can kind of slice and dice my data. Let me go into this one workbook. And on this, one of the things that we've done with the analytics is we've given you the capability where you can create reports. Notice on the standard reports that I was showing earlier, everything is columns and rows, but we added pivot table capabilities. So when we think about using things like Excel, we need those pivot tables. So here we can see our budget versus remaining work. We can see by project. We also can do charts on these. So the nice thing about this is you can build these reports. These also can be added onto your dashboards. So again, if you've got, here we can look at by project or budget versus remaining, and again, get a nice graphic associated with all of my various projects. So just to recap, to go back through what we went through on the project flow. So again, we went through the CRM capabilities where you can manage opportunities. Again, that is leveraging NetSuite CRM functionality. Again, we talked about the project management. So being able to see that opportunity, being able to manage all aspects of a given project. And then again, the resource management being able to staff the project, looking for the right resource. I think that is really, really key. Being able to, increase that project management productivity, finding the right person with the right skill set for the right project. Again, on the time and expenses, just being able to have a very easy, very intuitive tool where we can record our time, quickly into the system. And then we talked about the approvals as well as the billing rules. We talked about the charges, the invoicing. I showed where I automatically created the invoice. And then we talked about the analytics where we went in and talked about some of the standard reports that come with NetSuite, as well as the analytics tool that can be used with that. Again, it's a very easy to use tool that enables you to be able to create those pivot tables and charts and very easily add those onto your dashboard. So with that, that is pretty much the demonstration today. So I will turn it back over to Alejandro for wrap up.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam, and thank you, Brett, for this very interesting webinar. I appreciate the participation of our customers, and as always, we'll be having another webinar next week about open air. So look forward to seeing you here and in our future Open Office Hours series webinars. Thank you very much, and I'll end the call right now.